Someone commented, I'm so sick of Baltimore, Maryland getting gypped every single storm. Another person said, I'm already done with snow and ice for the season. Someone else wrote, I'm ready for spring. It's December 31st. We haven't even made it to January yet, and people are already complaining about winter being winter. I get it. Cold is uncomfortable. Snow is inconvenient. Ice is dangerous. Shoveling is exhausting. Heating bills are expensive. Winter is hard. But here's what I want to talk about today. Perspective, gratitude, and the difference between acknowledging that winter is difficult and constantly complaining about something you cannot change. At the 12-minute mark, I'm showing you what people in other parts of the world deal with that makes our winter complaints seem ridiculous. At the 19-minute mark, I'm giving you practical ways to find joy in winter instead of just enduring it. Because January is here whether you like it or not. You can spend it miserable, or you can find a different approach. If you could comment your city and state, and also tell me one thing you actually appreciate about winter, it would help shift the perspective in these comments from pure complaint to something more balanced. December 31st, 2025. The end of one year, the beginning of another. And an opportunity to choose how you're going to approach the next 3 months. Let me start by validating some complaints, because not all complaining is wrong. Winter is expensive. Heating costs are real. Propane, natural gas, heating oil, electricity for heat pumps, all of it costs more when it's 20 degrees outside than when it's 60 degrees. For people on fixed incomes or tight budgets, winter creates financial stress. That's legitimate. Winter is dangerous. People slip on ice and break bones. Car accidents increase. Heart attacks from shoveling happen. Carbon monoxide poisoning from generators happens. Hypothermia and frostbite are real. People die. That's not trivial. Winter is physically demanding. Shoveling snow repeatedly is exhausting work, especially for older people or people with health conditions. Not everyone can do it. Relying on others or paying for snow removal is necessary, but that costs money some people don't have. Winter is isolating. Short days, cold temperatures, hazardous roads, all of this keeps people inside more. Social isolation increases depression. Seasonal affective disorder is real. Lack of sunlight affects mood. These are legitimate challenges. So, I'm not dismissing winter's difficulties. I'm not saying just be positive and everything's fine. I'm acknowledging that winter is genuinely hard for many people. But here's the line between acknowledging difficulty and chronic complaining. Acknowledging difficulty says, this is hard and I'm doing my best to cope. Chronic complaining says, this is terrible and I hate everything about it and I'm going to make sure everyone around me knows how miserable I am. One is honest. The other is toxic. Someone who says, I'm ready for spring in late December hasn't even given winter a chance. Winter just started. You have 3 more months of it. Spending all 3 months wishing it was over doesn't make time pass faster. It just makes you miserable the whole time. Someone who says, I'm already done with snow and ice for the season when they've barely seen any yet is setting themselves up for 3 months of frustration. Winter is winter. It's supposed to have snow and ice. That's not a surprise. That's the definition of the season. Complaining about winter being winter is like complaining that summer is hot. Yes, that's what it does. You live in a place with 4 seasons. Accept it or move. Now, I know some of you just bristled at accept it or move. So let me clarify. I'm not saying you're not allowed to prefer warm weather. I'm not saying you have to love winter. I'm saying that if you hate winter so much that you're miserable from November through March every single year, you might want to consider living somewhere without winter. Otherwise, you're choosing to live in a place with a climate you hate and then complaining about that climate for half the year. At some point, that's a choice you're making. You could make a different choice, but most people aren't going to move. Family is here, job is here, life is here. So you're going to experience winter whether you like it or not. Given that reality, you have 2 options. Option 1. Spend January, February, and March miserable, complaining, wishing it was over, counting down days until spring. Be unpleasant to be around because you're so focused on how much you hate the weather. Option 2. Accept that winter is here. Find things about it to appreciate or at least tolerate. Focus on activities that make it bearable and choose contentment despite circumstances. One option makes you and everyone around you miserable. The other option gives you 3 months of your life back. Philippians 4:11 through 12. I have learned to be content whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation. Paul wasn't talking about weather. He was talking about imprisonment, persecution, hardship. If he could learn contentment in those circumstances, we can learn contentment in winter. Now, I promised at the 12-minute mark I'd show you what people in other parts of the world deal with. We're past that, so let me deliver. You think your winter is hard? Let me tell you about Yakutsk, Russia. Average January temperature negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Not wind chill, actual air temperature. They deal with that for months, and they don't have the infrastructure and resources we have. They cope, they adapt, they live. Or Oymyakon, Russia. One of the coldest inhabited places on Earth. Temperatures regularly drop to negative 60 degrees Fahrenheit. People live there, work there, raise families there, in conditions that would kill most of us in hours. Or northern Canada. Communities that are isolated for months because ice roads are the only access and those roads aren't passable for part of the year. Limited supplies. Limited medical access. Extreme cold. They manage. Or Norway, Sweden, Finland. Places where winter means months of darkness, not just short days. Actual darkness for weeks because the sun doesn't rise. Imagine dealing with cold and snow and ice in the dark. We complain about 5:30 p.m. sunsets. They have no sun at all. Or the Himalayas. Villages at high altitude where winter means being snowed in for months. No roads in or out. Whatever supplies you have, that's it until spring. No running to the grocery store. No emergency services unless you can get yourself down the mountain. They survive. My point is not other people have it worse, so you're not allowed to complain. My point is perspective. The winter you're experiencing, as difficult as it is manageable. You have heat, you have electricity, you have grocery stores. You have plowed roads most of the time. You have emergency services if something goes wrong. Yes, your heating bill is high, but you have heat. Yes, driving is dangerous, but you have a vehicle and plowed roads. Yes, shoveling is exhausting, but you have the physical ability to do it or the resources to pay someone. Perspective doesn't erase difficulty. But it does help you recognize that difficulty exists on a spectrum, and what you're dealing with, while real, is not the worst end of that spectrum. Now let me talk about Baltimore specifically because multiple people commented about Baltimore not getting snow. I'm so sick of Baltimore getting gypped every single storm. Baltimore still gets nothing. Baltimore is in that frustrating geographic position where you're too far south for lake effect, too far north for Gulf moisture storms, and right on the edge of coastal storms that either hit you or miss you. I get the frustration. You watch forecasts that show potential. You watch storms develop. And then the storm tracks 50 miles to your north or 50 miles to your south, and you get nothing or just rain. But here's a question. Do you actually want winter weather, or do you just feel left out? Because if you actually want the snow, ice, and cold that places like Buffalo and Syracuse are dealing with, then you should understand what that entails. 2 feet of snow means hours of shoveling. It means being trapped in your house. It means expensive snow removal. It means roof load concerns. It means salt destroying your car. It means high heating bills. Places that get consistent winter weather deal with real hardships. It's not all pretty snow and winter wonderland. It's backbreaking work, significant expense, and genuine danger. So when you say Baltimore gets gypped, what you might actually mean is, I want one pretty snowfall for photos and a snow day, but I don't want the sustained winter weather that creates real problems. That's fine, but recognize that's what you're asking for. You want the aesthetic without the hardship, and that's why you're frustrated. Because when you do get winter weather, it's usually the problematic kind. Ice instead of snow, just enough to cause accidents but not enough to be pretty, the worst of both worlds. My advice? Find contentment in not dealing with the full reality of sustained winter weather. Baltimore winters are easier than Buffalo winters. That's actually a gift, even if it doesn't feel like one when you're watching snowfall everywhere but where you are. Now, I promised at the 19-minute mark I'd give you practical ways to find joy in winter. We're almost there, so let me deliver. First, embrace winter activities. If you're going to have winter anyway, do winter things. Go sledding, build a snowman, make snow angels, have a snowball fight, go ice skating, try cross-country skiing or snowshoeing. Someone commented, "I love snow, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow." That person has the right attitude. They're not enduring winter. They're enjoying it. Another person from Buffalo said winters remind them of the 1960s and they're celebrating, not complaining. They remember when winters were winters and they appreciate it. Another person said, "Love that lake effect snow. I've been out shoveling it since 2 a.m. awaiting the next dumping of it." That's someone who's not just tolerating winter, they're engaging with it. Can you do this? Can you find one activity that makes winter enjoyable instead of just bearable? Second, create indoor coziness. Winter is dark and cold outside. Make inside warm and inviting. Fireplace if you have one. Candles. Warm blankets. Hot chocolate. Comfort food. Good books. Movies. Whatever makes you feel cozy. Winter can be a time of rest and restoration if you let it be. Society pushes constant activity and productivity. Winter forces you to slow down. That can be a gift if you receive it as one. Third, appreciate the benefits winter brings. Snow coverage protects soil. Cold kills bugs and disease. Ice and snow provide water for spring. Dormancy is necessary for perennials to come back strong. Winter serves ecological purposes even if we find it inconvenient. Someone commented, "Although this winter has been challenging, one positive thing is we're going to have an amazing spring because of all the moisture." That's someone who sees the bigger picture. Winter's hardships create spring's blessings. Fourth, help others, which makes you feel less helpless. Can't change the weather, can't make winter end faster, but you can shovel an elderly neighbor's driveway. You can check on someone who's isolated. You can bring someone hot coffee. You can offer a ride to someone who can't drive in snow. Helping others shifts focus from your own discomfort to someone else's needs. That shift in perspective makes your own circumstances feel more bearable. Fifth, practice gratitude. Every night before bed, name 3 things you're grateful for from that day. Some days it's hard. I'm grateful I didn't crash my car. I'm grateful the power stayed on. I'm grateful I have heat. That's fine. Small gratitudes count. Research shows gratitude practice actually rewires your brain over time to notice positive things instead of defaulting to negative. It doesn't make winter less cold, but it makes you less miserable while experiencing it. Sixth, limit weather complaining. Set a rule. You can complain about weather for 5 minutes per day. After that, you're done. Move on to other topics. Talk about things you can control instead of things you can't. Chronic complainers don't realize how exhausting they are to be around. Everyone's dealing with the same weather. Nobody wants to hear constant negativity about something nobody can change. If you're that person, others are avoiding you. Choose to be someone people want to be around instead. Now, let me address the people who are genuinely struggling with winter depression. Seasonal affective disorder is real. It's not just feeling a bit down, it's actual depression triggered by lack of sunlight. Symptoms include persistent sadness, loss of interest in activities, changes in appetite and sleep, difficulty concentrating, feelings of hopelessness. If that's you, this isn't about choosing better attitude. This is about brain chemistry and light exposure. You need help. Get a light therapy box. Use it for 30 minutes every morning. Get outside during daylight, even if it's cold. Exercise helps mood. Talk to your doctor about whether medication might help. Connect with others instead of isolating. This is medical, not weakness. Treat it as such. For everyone else, the people who are physically fine but just don't like winter, this is about perspective and choice. You can choose how you respond to circumstances you can't control. Before I close, let me give you key points. Winter is difficult. That's legitimate. Acknowledging difficulty is healthy. Chronic complaining is toxic. It makes you miserable and everyone around you miserable. It doesn't change weather. It just wastes emotional energy. Perspective helps. Other people face worse conditions with fewer resources. You're blessed even when cold. You have choices. Embrace winter activities. Create indoor coziness. Help others. Practice gratitude. Limit complaining. If you found this perspective helpful, I'd appreciate it if you could like this video. Some people might not like hearing this message. That's okay. Not every message is for everyone. Subscribe if you haven't. I'm trying to provide weather information, but also perspective that helps people cope with whatever weather brings. Share with someone who needs attitude adjustment about winter. We all know that person who complains constantly. Maybe they need to hear this. Comment your city and state plus one thing you appreciate about winter. Let's change the tone of these comments from pure complaint to something more balanced. 1 Thessalonians 5:16 through 18. Rejoice always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. In all circumstances, not just pleasant ones, all circumstances, that includes winter. You're going to have January, February, and March, whether you like it or not. You can spend them miserable, or you can find a different approach. Choose contentment, choose gratitude, choose to see gifts even in difficult seasons. Happy New Year, stay warm, and may God give you eyes to see blessings even when circumstances are challenging. I'll see you in tomorrow's update.